My Sleeping Karma are a German band started in 2005, and in my opinion, they are one of the most interesting stoner or psychedelic bands out there. Exact classifications are complex. With both visual and auditive influences from India, Hinduism, and Buddhism, they create what they refer to as psychedelic groove rock. Their sixth studio album, Atma, will be released on July 29th by Napalm Records. Matthias van Weyden, better known as Mate, is the bassist and founder of My Sleeping Karma, and he joins me today. Mate, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today.
Thank you very much as well for your time.
How were the last couple of years for COVID? In the sense of for you as a creative person, having to be such a long time without being able to perform, which I know is very important for musicians like you. How was it for you?
I mean, we have like 2.5 difficult years behind us, all of us working in the music business, bands, promoters. Also for the fans, it wasn't the most easy. Sleeping Karma had a bit of extra special bad times on top, like our drummer got bad news about a cancer, and so we tried to understand and deal that situation. Then COVID came in and makes all our lives even more difficult. So we went to a long dark process in the last 2.5 years, and honestly we didn't even know if this album would ever see the light. Now we are happy that Atma is out or will be released next week, and it's hopefully closing a chapter of this, let's say, more depressive last 2.5 years.
No, certainly. I mean, I am aware of some of those difficulties, and we're going to discuss them a little bit more when we discuss Atma. But before we do that, before we actually see how Atma is going to finally paint a positive picture of what is happening and kind of marking a new step for the band, one of the interesting things for me about My Sleeping Karma is that whenever I try to get people to listen to it, I have a hard time explaining it. I have a hard time saying, oh, this is what they do. So to someone who has never heard it, because I've been in that situation, how would you describe My Sleeping Karma?
Wow, that's a difficult question. Playing in that band since 18 years. I think we like to describe it a little bit as hypnotic rock in a and trying to deliver, how you say it, an open mind spirit in music. I think to put Sleeping Karma in one or another corner is really very difficult. For sure, it belongs to the stoner rock family, but I think there's much more in than the typical Black Sabbath riffing cliches. And honestly, I don't know if there's really needs to be a description for that. Dave Weindorf once said, the Monster Magnet singer, like back in 2012, we joined the Spine of God tour with them, and he once said, like, My Sleeping Karma is art. Maybe that brings it to the point a little bit. I mean, like, I don't want to categorize our music, and it's difficult to really like explain it to somebody. Hypnotic chill out rock, if you wanna have a term for it or a name for it, might fit it best. But we are trying to create open music or open-minded music, which leaves everyone the individual choice of freedom to listen to the music in any individual situation.
Tell me then what you were trying to do when you started My Sleeping Karma back in 2006. I know you and one of the other members were in another band already, because just like you have a hard time explaining what the band was, it must have been weird to say, okay, let's start a band. What are we going to play? I don't know. So how did that work?
Well, okay, to make a long story short, like all what happened to My Sleeping Karma came pretty organically to us. So we were not sitting together in a band meeting and saying like, oh wow, let's call the band that and that way, and then we are playing with that Hinduism, Buddhism, religious thing, and so no, we had like a normal chaos-related stoner rock band before, and as a side project, I started with Steppy back then, something more, yeah, let's say more in this direction, hypnotic chill out rock. And so we had that sound and we had some ideas. And then we stopped that old stoner band and took Stefan as a drummer into My Sleeping Karma and added some soundboard, as we call it. And yeah, created this new, also for us new sound of My Sleeping Karma, and then founded the band name came to us, and step by step, like people listened to the first songs and it's like, oh, My Sleeping Karma, and we started to play a little bit with the cliche of putting a Buddha on the cover of the second album, and out of the sudden it was all clear that My Sleeping Karma, I don't know how you want to say, the religious Buddha rockers, but to be honest, none of us has a shrine with, what is it called, this incense and small Buddha figures, and we are praying every day to any kind of Hinduistic or Buddhistic gods or goddesses. So yeah, no, all came organically to us, and yeah, that's pretty much.
How did the name My Sleeping Karma came up?
It came in my mind at one point. Really, like we were sitting together in the studio, and or even like either rehearsed or recorded the first few songs, and we didn't have a band name, and it somehow popped up. I think I wanted to have something with you know, like free names like My Sleeping Karma, or 3 words. And I said to her, what about My Sleeping Karma? And said like, yeah, okay, why not? And that's it. Was pretty simple.
But you really want to create kind of chill out music, because I read somewhere that you said that you wanted My Sleeping Karma to be kind of an alternative to this overloaded and kind of high speed society. So it's kind of weird, because I think most bands are not trying to relax their audience.
I think we had always a bit a different point of view. I mean, who is saying that a song should only have 3.5 or 4 minutes? It's the radios, and you know, like you can only have I don't know, success when you have the right format for your song. And we were always thinking different. I mean, first of all, we never thought that anybody would be interested in listening to My Sleeping Karma. It was music we created for us, and luckily and thankful we are that it got a little bit bigger than we expected. But I think the music we are creating and we wanted to create wanted to breathe and has the time to develop. And I don't know, in this nowadays world, everything is anyhow fast. Nobody has time for anything, and I think that's not the way how we want to write our songs. So like some riffs need the time to develop and to unfold the energy and also the power behind it, you know. Like it wouldn't work if we like take it down and not repeating a riff maybe 16 times like we do, and just do it 4 times. Then it's just, you know, like almost meaningless. So that's a little bit also the reason why I think we are not the band who can create 4-minute or 5-minute long songs. We tried it surely as well. Hey, let's write a hit and do it faster. And like we tried, and then it wasn't Sleeping Karma anymore.
But it's one of the things that attract me about My Sleeping Karma. I mean, this kind of hypnotic repetition through long periods of time. It was really one of the, I think the first album that I listened to was Soma, and it was just amazing. I mean, precisely that sort of hypnotic repetition was really blew my mind. Something that you mentioned is that, well, except for 2 of your albums, your debut and the third one that just means 3, all of your releases have been named after concepts from Hinduism and Buddhism. So Satya, that means truth; Soma, the Hindu god of the moon; Moksha, which means emancipation, and now Atma, which refers to the soul or to the self. Also, many of your songs have references to kind of these religions. Sometimes you borrow, I would say, acoustic elements of that culture, and also visually. Of course, you have had, the Ganesha on the cover of your albums. You had another one with Buddha. You've mentioned that none of you have a religious commitment to this. So, what attracted you to the topic?
I really think we love the open mind of these two religions, and that everything is in flow, and that there is like it feels organic and natural, and you're not like, we are all like non-religious people, but I think our music fits pretty much to the, let's call it, the style of these religions. And like I said, a lot of things came a little bit organically to us. Like we had that sound, we had the name, like we were interested, like Stefan, our drummer, went to what is it called, when the Dalai Lama was speaking in a hall, and he went there, and we are interested in that kind of stuff, but we are not religious people. And I think it's more like the vibe and the positive vibe which is around these religions is what attracted us as well, and which fits, I think, good to My Sleeping Karma. And I don't know if there will be a next album, if automatically there needs to be a Ganesha or something on it. That is something which we decide at the very end. But I don't know, this time it was clear, like after Soma and Moksha, like Atma was really the next step, the consequent out of the other two albums. And yeah, we wanted to have it exactly in that way, like saying like, can we do again Ganesha on the front cover? Yes, we can, because we had this idea about the cover, like, look how small the world is in someone's hand, in something which is way bigger out there than us, and showing us how small pieces we are in the universe as individuals.
Well, as I mentioned in the introduction, this is your 6th studio album, the 7th overall, because there was also this live album a couple of years ago. I know that Atma, I think you started writing it back in 2017, but you kind of thought then, as you said at the beginning, maybe this will never see the light of day. So tell me a little bit about how Atma finally came together.
It's a bit a longer story, which I try to break down a little short. 2019, we had the chance to play the Hellfest in France, which was one of our biggest concerts. On the way back, Stefan, our drummer, received a call that results of a blood work he did was not really good, and he should come and see. So a few days later, came a bad cancer diagnosis with a direct treatment, affordable. And first, we didn't understand that it's kind of surreal thing, like, somebody's healthy, it's your best friend, and you're having a great time. And 3 days later, there seems to be an emergency. So, but yeah, it all developed in a bad way, and we had to cancel the fall tour 2019, and we took over the Christmas days to understand what's really happening, in which direction that cancer thing is going, and he got medication. And then came Corona and the lockdown, and barely a chance to meet. And all was like already on a very negative base. So summer 2020, it opened up for some Corona concert, these social distancing concerts, and we were invited to play a few shows. So it was the first time for real we could meet after lockdowns, where it was forbidden to meet, to rehearse as a band. And besides rehearsing, we were starting playing the first ideas we had back in 2017 and 18 for that new album. And it didn't feel all right. So we erased them all and said, like, no, we need to start that new. But let's do first the summer concerts. So we did the summer concerts and checked a bit on Stefan treatments with medication and stuff, which seemed to be fine at that point of time. So in the fall 2020, we started again. like writing on the new album. We did some first progress, and fall 2020, bad news came in for Steffen again, like blood results are bad, he needs to go to a clinic, like giving his blood, and they want to freeze it, and like the full story which goes along with it. So again, it was another winter 2021 with lockdowns, and the same again, like in the spring it opened up after Easter, and there was some Corona shows, like the same thing for 2 years. And we gathered together as a band, the people came to our shows, and we had still this good vibe, and we felt like there's a good energy still in the band, even with all the bad circumstances. You could barely meet up and everything is shit, and health wise. Then we are in the fall 21, and we said like, hey, let's start writing this album for real. Like, we have 2 times started it, let's listen to the songs. And we found out it's shit. It's like we cannot erase it all again. Started, call came, bad results from Steffen. So it's like a kind of circle, and that was really like not so good news from that cancer thing. And I think it gave Steffen, who also produced the album, a mental strength to say like, hey, now I don't know where this all leads with that cancer, but I want this album now. Like, we need to do this. Like, so he worked like a maniac day and night producing this album, and we came together for every rehearsal possible, and started to write this album in the flow. Like in between a good 6 weeks, we had it pretty much ready or compact to record, and that this album Atma comes out right now, we all really couldn't believe it anymore. But we really got into all these bad influences or bad circumstances around, with lockdowns and Corona and cancers, came into a vibe in our own small bubble to create this album and to write, to finish this project, which we have started in almost in 2017 or 18.
So the most important question that I have connected to everything that you're saying is, first, how is Steffen?
At the moment, it works pretty good, but I think he has to take 8 pills every day, which is a kind of chemotherapy on pills, which pushes the bad cells more or less back in a corner. And we hope that the few times before it happened, that these bad cells comes back resistant against the medication, that he's hopefully finding a treatment which can control these, that works. And so for us at the moment, every concert we are playing, and we quite played a few in the last couple of months, is a kind of a gift, because we didn't expect to come back on stage at all. And that Atma comes out right now is also a big gift for us. So
I have had friends who sadly had this disease. I lost my dad to cancer as well. So I know that beyond how it affects the victim, which is obviously enormously, it also affects its environment. And obviously, you are a close friend of Stefan. So I imagine that this was an emotionally incredibly difficult period for you as well. Emotionally, I mean, it's horrible.
It's horrible. I think I played with Stefan 23 years now. He on drums, me on bass with the band before, like, and we are good friends beside the band. So yeah, it's horrible, and I don't want to start with my private life, which pretty much crashed down in the 2.5 years either. But it's not much more steps down you can take. So it's so I hope we hopefully created a turning point to stay positive and look positive in the future. But there's a very dark period behind us all.
Of course, I fully understand, and first of all, I am extremely sorry that this was the circumstance, both for you and especially for Stefan and his family, of course. The fact that it was a dark period, and I am sorry to say it in those terms, but darkness often plays a tremendous role in creativity. I was just yesterday working on an interview that I did with an Iranian musician who spent a year in solitary confinement in Iran for his music, and he told me, like, it's horrible, it's torture, it's terrible, but they gave me this power to create something new. And I think that we notice that darkness and that power in Atma. In fact, that your label,
Yeah.
and I wanted to know what you think about it. They said that it is your most powerful, but also your darkest album in a way. Would you agree with that?
You know, sometimes you labels, or you need to bring down, you know, it need to bring down things on the point very easily, you know, like it's like, what is dark, you know, like for some is a darker white already a dark, you know what I mean, and a black dark dark. So let's say like that. It's somewhere in between. Of course, we got power out of it as well, because we developed power with all the negative circumstances around. We also felt like, wow, we as a band holding together since 80 years, and we want to go through this, you know, like we can make it, and we can use that darkness also for creativity, like you said. And I think that really was there, and I think maybe it also helps to speed up the process, to say like, it gave us a kind of flow as well, a positive flow with all the bad circumstances around it. So yeah, you said it the right way. It's also, there was also a chance in it which we took. Like, we didn't turn away and said like, oh, now everything is so dark in everybody's own life and it's fucking shit. Like, no, let's leave the band. It's even brings more difficulties, or I have to even deal more conflicts, or you know, like, you don't go there as an individual in bad times and think like, hey, I go to a band rehearsal, crack a beer, and everybody's in a good mood. No, it's like everybody's coming like depressed from life and all the bad things around. But we felt like when we played together, like, hey, wow, there's something, we have something in our music. And we felt like after rehearsal, we all felt better, you know, like it gave us positive energy, and we went home with a smile and said like, hey, this is the right thing to do. That gave us some positive energy. I think we really like, Sleeping Karma is a positive band, and we always have this positive vibe in our music. And it's also there on Atma, but I think these, let's call it traumatas we have, they are also more to hear in that album than on the albums before. Like, I think it's more, it's for us, I think it's really our most, if we want to call it deepest, the most deepest album, and for sure the most emotional one, because that's how we created the music, like coming from very emotional moments. And I don't know if we could have written it without the circumstances around each of us band members. So it's like, it is like that.
You wear a lot of hats. I don't mean physically, but you also wear a lot of hats physically, in the sense that you are in My Sleeping Karma, but you also have a more boring job in a booking company. And I'm wondering, what is the relation between the two? And this, I mean, of course, Sound of Liberation, your booking company, works with this genre of music, but um, is Sleeping Karma, because of the commitment that it represents, is it a bit of a challenge or a difficulty to make it compatible with the work?
um, so this is really what happened. Like, I think in one way, Sleeping Karma is on our Sound of Liberation booking roster the most band we are not pushing at all, because we don't have time to play. And you know, like, it's always a big thing if we can go to a concert, because Seppi, our guitar player, he has 3 little kids, and Norman, our keyboard player, he lives 200 kilometers away. I was married in France, like 500 kilometers away from the rest. So it was always like a big machine which needs to happen, that we go on tour. Or, you know, like 20 years ago it would have been different, but right now so we really like didn't really push and taking every tour possibility or every possibility we have. I think from positions in the lineup, we over 18 years we naturally climbed up a little bit the ladder, and now having the chance to really playing co-headliner or headlining slots on festivals, but there's really never a push from me behind it saying like, hey, we're only doing this festival if we I don't know, if your programmers on that or that position or something. So I pretty much try to have a clear view on my Sleeping Karma on the position in a lineup compared to other bands in the genre.
Sound of Liberation, as I mentioned, specializes in stoner and kind of psychedelic music. Music in line with My Sleeping Karma. You have Orange Goblin, if I am not mistaken, and bands like that. How do you see that scene working in Europe? Because it's something that I find quite interesting. It has a very 70s sound in a way, but it continues to grow exponentially every year. I mean, we have more and more bands that are just pushing that sound.
It's hard for me to describe. Like 18 years ago, it was like a super small scene in Germany. There was 2 or 3 record labels and some people organizing some live events. And basically, you went out with your van, even with an own PA in the van, and playing in some pubs. And I think not really anybody knew who will listen to that kind of music. And then many years later, you see like bands are able to do European tours, and more people are coming and joining the show. So that feels good, because I think the seal was really small. Now it's still small, and but it's growing organically. You know, it's like there's not a hype around, let's call it stoner rock. It was always there, and some people, now it attracts some more people than years before. And for us, the older generation, it's nice to see like people, like young kids on skateboards again and sprayers, and they listen to not only to hip hop anymore, they also have some cool heavy rock songs or stoner songs in their most favorite playlists. So it's quite nice.
It's always a challenge for me when I have to explain stoner rock and tell them, but we're not all doing drugs all the time. It's just the name.
It's just a name which came back from these Caius days in generator parties in the desert. And I know some bands hate the term stoner rock. They prefer to call it heavy rock or whatever. In the end, it's, for me, I don't mind the moniker stoner rock if it's something that helps the explanation. In the end, it's all about the music, and it's really quite nice to see like that also on these bigger metal festivals. You notice yourself like years before Hellfest and others started like this kind of programming these kind of bands in an extra tent, and it's always full and people love it. And it's just nice to see people with a Slayer back patch, and next to it there's a small tiny My Sleeping Karma button or sticker. That shows it's the right thing. They love to go there. And maybe, I don't know, just my feeling, but somehow the metal, like how much more bloody, faster, growlier it should get, you know, like more masks and more corpse paint. And so then at Hellfest, people walk into the tent and they're seeing like Fu Manchu playing with their surfer LA outfit and Vans and normal jeans, and just being cool in another way. And it seemed to attract people as well, saying like, wow. And that is nice. I think that this is how the scene slowly became a little bit bigger now over the years. So
Mate, I really thank you so much for the time that you gave me today. It was really interesting. I really enjoyed My Sleeping Karma, and I am really looking forward to the release of Atma. Before I let you go, what is in the immediate plans of My Sleeping Karma?
Immediate plans is we are blessed to play a few nice festivals, like also the metal festival Alcatraz, where we are looking forward, because Sleeping Karma in the band, we are all old metal heads, like we are like grown up with metal bands. And so it's always nice for us to hang out on bigger metal festivals, checking out the headliners on the main stages. We fly to Portugal afterwards to a scene festival called Sonic Blast, which is great. And we didn't make too many plans in terms of touring because of the health situation in the band. But yeah, we were able to confirm a few more concerts, and hopefully when terms are getting better for all of us in with Corona, COVID situation and health-wise, hopefully we can have a normal European tour anytime in 2023. But for now, we are looking forward to enjoy the rest of the festival summer, and we have 4 or 5 festivals left to play. and then we see what the future brings.
Mate, thank you so much for your time. I hope that you continue enjoying the heat wave. I am personally slowly melting, but
Exactly, same here. Thank you very much for your time, and hello to everybody to listen or read this one. Be safe.
all the best to you and Stefan, of course. I wish you all the very best. Take care of yourself, man.
Thank you very much for your time, and keep your good karma.